Americans are really serious about balancing the budget and whittling away at America's staggering national debt, should the federal government cut taxes or increase taxes? Hi, I'm Bill Jones with the biggest question facing America today. Up or down, which direction should we go? America is at a crossroads, and the wrong decision now could lead us down the path to a financial black hole from which we may never escape. So let's examine the historical evidence from the Congressional Budget Office. In 1981, Ronald Reagan pushed through a tax cut that eventually lowered top-end tax rates from 70% down to 28%. As the chart shows, tax revenues dropped off immediately and dramatically. In fact, it was the only drop in federal tax revenues in almost 30 years. Conversely, when President Clinton raised the top-end tax rate to 39% in 1993, federal tax revenues rose just as quickly and dramatically as the previous decline under Reagan. Then, starting in 2001, President Bush signed a series of tax cuts over 3 years that lowered top-end tax rates from 39% down to 35%. And as the chart shows, federal revenues plummeted again for 3 years in a row. In fact, over the past 50 years, federal tax revenues have only declined 6 times, and 4 of those years were immediately after the Reagan and Bush tax cuts. But wait a minute. Tax-cutting supporters claim that eventually tax revenues did go up by the end of the Reagan and Bush presidencies. And that is true, but not because of tax cuts, only in spite of tax cuts. It's true for the very same reasons federal tax revenues have gone up under every American president since World War II, including 44 times in the past 50 years. Those very simple reasons are easy to understand. Number 1, population growth, and number 2, inflation. Revenues eventually went up only because there were millions of more Americans paying taxes by the time Reagan and Bush finally left office, and those taxes were paid at a higher rate of inflation. So the answer is no. Cutting taxes does not increase revenues to the federal government. It does just the opposite. Contrary to GOP rhetoric, up is not down and down is not up when it comes to taxes. Raising taxes does lead to higher federal revenues, as we saw under the Clinton years, and cutting taxes does lead to lower federal revenues, as we saw under the Reagan and Bush years.